Hey guys, welcome to my channel Shiva's Tech Up. So in this session, we will be looking at reading user input from console and what are the various ways where user can accept an input at the runtime and also based on the condition, the output will be printed. Okay, so there are two ways. So before that, this is the agenda for today. What are the various ways to read the console input? And there are two ways, as I said. One is the buffered reader, the other is the scanner. And we will also be looking at what are the differences between buffered reader and scanner. And we will also be looking at the example program to define how we read console input through buffered reader as well as scanner. Okay, so let's get into what is BufferedReader. So basically, it is a class which is used to reading text from a character input stream, right? So basically, by default, it accepts whatever input you provide in the console in the form of an character input, and it buffers the character one by one so that it is faster. I mean, the reading of input from the console becomes faster. And what are the scenarios where buffer reader can be used? For example, these are some of the scenarios that we are seeing here. The first scenario is that, for example, for reading files and also for reading some data from the socket or any other things. Okay, so normally in most of the scenarios, we can use buffered reader. And also, whenever you define a buffered reader, as I said, it takes the input in the form of a stream, right? So in order to read those streams, we need to create a object of input stream reader. Okay, so that is what we call as input stream. Okay, so this is to supply the data in the form of a streams. Okay, supply data to the buffer reader in the form of a streams. Okay, next we will be looking at the syntax of buffer reader. As I said, it is a class. In order to define that particular class, you need to define an object for that particular class by which we can access the different methods that are present in this buffer reader class. Okay, so if you consider this is the class, and as I said, if you want to create an object for any class, that can be done by using new keyword. Okay, so here we are specifying a object for this buffer reader. Then using this read line statement, it reads the input, whatever input you pass, it reads in the form of a read line, okay, in the form of a stream. Now, as I said, like in order to pass the input in the form of a streams, we need to create an input stream reader object, right? So that is what we are doing it here. So input stream reader is a class. You can also define an object in this way directly. New space input stream reader of system.in. System.in is nothing but you are accepting the input in the console, right? Using input stream reader, which converts the inputs which you have supplied in the form of a streams. Then it will supply the same thing to the buffered reader. So what buffered reader does is it accepts that input stream and it stores it into the buffer which is present in the memory so that we can access it. Okay, so this is what is buffered reader. Now let us try to understand the second way of accepting the input. One is it is scanner. Okay, so basically what is scanner? It is present in java.util package which is used to read the input as buffer reader does. Okay, if you consider the common quality of buffer reader and scanner is that both does the same operation, but the way you write and the way you accept the input from the console will be different. Okay, so what does scanner uses? So basically, scanner, what operation it does is it parse the primitive types in the sense whatever input you are specifying like integer, character, string, boolean, byte. So all these are primitive types and also strings. Okay, so whatever input you provide, it scans that particular input and it prints to the console. I mean, it supplies that particular input to the program, and based on the logic you have written in the program, it provides you with an output. Okay, and also what else does this scanner uses? It uses regular expressions to read different types of data. Types of data in the sense the same thing like integer, float, boolean, double, all these things. Okay, internally it uses regular expressions to identify what is the type of data you have supplied. Okay, so this is the syntax for scanner. As I said, scanner is also a class. Whenever you are hearing a word class, in order to access the methods that are present in that particular class, you need to create an object. Okay. So this SE is an object and new is a keyword in order to create the object for this particular class. Okay, the same class name and system.in. Okay, if you see the common quality, as I said, buffered reader also uses system.in as a parameter, whereas scanner also uses system.in. It means like both are going to do the same operation, but just the syntax will be different. The way you are accepting the input and the way internally it converts that input into the required format will be different. Okay. So for example, string name. So this is a variable. So I am trying to read an input from the console. Okay. It is string name equal to scanner object dot next line. Okay. So what it does is it accepts. So you need to enter an input and whatever statement which you write next, so that will be taken as an input, and based on the logic you have applied in the program, it will print you with the output. So that is buffer reader as well as scanner. Okay, so let us move into the next slide. Okay, so now let us try to understand what are the main differences between buffered reader and scanner. Okay, so buffered reader is synchronized while scanner is not. Okay, so synchronized in the sense whenever you are running multiple threads, then the preferred way of input reading the input is buffered reader. Okay, so scanner is not preferred. It's not like you should not use it. You can use it, but it's not preferred. Okay, so this is one scenario where buffer reader can be used while scanner cannot. Now, scanner can parse primitive types and strings using regular expressions. So this we have already seen in the previous slide. Now, this is the difference between scanner and buffer reader. So it parses the primitive types and strings using regular expressions, right? Whereas buffer reader, it allows changing the size of the buffer. Buffer is nothing but size of the buffer in the sense memory, while scanner is has a fixed buffer size. Okay, so whenever you are specifying an input, the memory that is being allocated in that particular buffer will be fixed for scanner, whereas buffer reader it can be changed. Okay, now let us understand buffer reader and scanner in the other way. Like buffer reader has a larger default buffer size. So whenever you are creating a buffer object, the size that is being allocated for that particular object is more than what is required. Okay, when it comes to scanner, it has low buffer size, which is enough to store the content of that particular element input. Okay, so that is the difference. So scanner is used whenever you want to specify the correct buffer size. Buffered reader has buffer size which is more than that is required in order to store an input. So that is one difference between buffered reader as well as scanner. Okay. Now, scanner hides input output exception while buffer reader forces us to handle it. Okay, so the meaning of this is, so whenever you are writing a program, whenever you create a buffer reader object, there will be an error symbol that will be displayed under this particular class, which asks you to handle the exception. Okay, once you click on that, either you can handle it using try catch, or you can just add input output exception through keyword for buffer reader. Whereas scanner, it hides input output exception internally. You need not specify, you need not handle it under try catch. Whereas buffer reader, it forces you to handle it. So this point we will understand with the help of a program in the coming part of this particular session. And when it comes to the speed, buffer reader is usually faster than scanner because it only reads the data without parsing it. Okay, so basically, as I said, like scanner scans or parses, right? So the time that is taken, it's not usually much faster, but even in seconds, it is much faster than compared to scanner. Buffer reader is usually faster than scanner. Okay, so that's it for the difference between buffer reader and scanner. So in the coming next part of this particular session, we will be understanding the difference between buffer reader and scanner along with a program example. Okay, so now first let's try to understand buffer reader along with an example. Okay, so first, as I said, we just need to write the system.out.println statement just to display a message that you are going to supply with some input, right? Okay, enter the inputs below. Okay, then let us create the buffer reader object. Okay, as I said, buffer reader is a class, right? So buffer reader, it is present in java.io package. Br equal to new buffer reader, new buffer reader of new input stream reader of system.in. Okay, so this is how you will be specifying it. So let us try to understand what we have done over here. So as I said in the earlier slide, so we are creating an object for input stream reader which accepts the input in the form of streams, then supply it to the buffer reader. So what buffer reader does is it accepts that input, stores it in memory, and based on whatever operations we are performing, whether we are printing it or whether we are doing any manipulations on that particular data. So based on the logic applied, it performs the operations, required operations. Okay. So now let us write the next statement. So for example, I am trying to use name as a first variable. I am trying to accept an input string the name br.readline. So this is a statement. Okay. Now, one more important point which I told you in the earlier slide is buffer reader forces you to catch an exception. So it says like there might be some exception. Please handle it. Okay. So that is what we will be seeing it. As I said, we can add a throw statement and we can surround it with try catch. For now, let me just add throw declaration. It will be added at the main statement after the end of this main function. Okay, so now let me add it. Add throws. So throws input output exception. So what it is doing, it is forcing you to handle this particular exception. So that is buffered reader. Okay, so what I will do is I will just print it. Accepted as an input is plus name. I'm just printing it. Now, if you see in the earlier programs, we have initialized the string variable, for example, name. So this name in the earlier session, we have initialized it. But here what we are doing, we are reading it in the console. So whenever we compile a program, so what it does is it will ask you to enter a name. So based on the name entered, the following system.out.println statement will be printed, which appends the name which you have entered as a user input. So now let us try to run this particular program. Okay, run as Java application. See, it is accepting, it is asking you to enter the input. So what I will do is, so I just clicked on enter without supplying any input. So what it has printed is, it has printed an empty string. Okay, so now let me close it and let me compile it again. Okay, so I will just enter my name, Shiva. Okay, the name accepted as an input is Shiva. Okay, let me close it and let me run it again. Okay, welcome to Shiva Tech. So in this way, what it is doing is dynamically we can assign multiple values. I mean, we can check the correctness of this program output by using different inputs, right? So normally whenever we initialize a variable and you are printing that variable, what it does is it just prints it, whatever you have specified in the program. But here, whenever you are entering an input from the console, it dynamically takes the input, whatever you have specified, and it prints that particular input. Okay, uses that input and prints it in the output. Okay, so this is buffered reader. Now let us try to understand one more example using scanner. The same thing, but this time I will be reading input using scanner. So let me give some name. The same thing. So for scanner, you need not specify any input stream reader because it directly parses using this scanner object. New scanner of system dot in. Okay. So this is the scanner object. Okay. Before that, as we did for buffered reader, so println some message. Enter the value below. Okay. Enter the value below. So this statement creates a scanner object. Now same thing, string name equal to sc dot dot next line. Next line is for string. Okay, int age equal to sc dot. So for integer, it will be next int. Okay, so I intentionally have declared one more integer variable uh, for defining this particular scanner object. I mean, so if I want to print this age, what I need to do is I need to use next int. If I have to declare float, I need to use sc dot next float, next double, next byte, so on. Okay, for string, it is next line. So these are the two important things. Okay. So what I will do is I will just print the name of the person is. So based on the input you have entered, it will accept that input and it will be printed. The age of the person is plus age. Okay. So let me try to run it. So if you see, one more important difference is that it is not forcing you to handle an exception. Whereas if you go to the buffer reader example, it has forced you to handle this. I mean, it has forced you to add this particular statement. Okay, whereas in scanner, it is not forcing. So internally, it is being handled. Whenever an exception arises, input-output exception, the scanner automatically handles it. That is one main difference of scanner. Okay, run as Java application. So here I need to enter two values. First value is name of the person. Second value is age of the person. Okay. So the name of the person is Shiva. The age of the person is 35. Okay. Got it. So this is how you will be reading the console input using buffered reader as well as scanner. That's it for this video, guys. Don't forget to like, subscribe to my channel Shiva's Tech Hub and get notified to the future updates. And also don't forget to share it on various social media platforms. Thank you.